So I think we are probably streaming live at this point. I can't quite tell. Oh, it says
Yes, it
streaming
is.
live. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll probably get a. There we go. I've got the link. I'll give it to you right over here and start in just a second. I'll put it in chat right here for you. So, welcome everyone. Good afternoon, or good evening, or good morning, wherever you are in the world today. I'm Ramola D. This is Ramola D Reports, and I'm here with Seven of Solutionaries Media Network. Seven, as many people may know, is a journalist, a social media journalist, much like me, and a writer, a speaker on many shows. She's a concept creator and innovator, and she's someone who's rather famous because she had some very famous shows of hers and very famous works of hers stolen by a very big media company. She won a case against them, a really huge case, $1 trillion case against them, but they did not pay her and instead targeted her. So her story is both incredible and tragic because there are so many things that have happened around that targeting. And she has spoken about some of those things. One of the very sad things I recall is, she has lost people in the Grenfell Tower fire. And, so today actually, Seven is remembering her ancestors. So maybe we can start the show, Seven, by you talking about that. First of all, thank you for being on the show today, and thank you for starting this new series with me, NewsWatch.
Thank you, Ramola. Just 1 second, everybody. Greetings, everyone. I'm actually trying to share the link with people who may want to
Oh,
tune
sure,
in,
absolutely. Yeah, I should also
so
do that on
we
Twitter.
can get people to come and say hi. So greetings, everybody. And just 1 second, I will post into Facebook, and then I will be able to. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. What does it say? Okay.
Does it work? Does the link work?
Yes, I think so. I'm just going to post it now. Hopefully, I will be able to.
Okay.
All right.
So Seven was explaining to me a little bit earlier that today is a day of remembrance for the ancestors.
That's right. Well, actually, it's for 9 days. Started on the first of started on the 1st of August,
Hmm.
and today's day 3, and we wear white. I'm wearing white, and
Beautiful.
yeah, and basically we burn. Well, they say men burn frankincense and the women burn myrrh, but I'm actually burning both
Is there some
behind me.
specific tradition, Seven, that
Um,
you're adhering to?
well, to be honest, it was suggested by somebody in one of the groups I'm part of, and I thought it was a beautiful thing to do.
Hmm.
Most of us know an ancestor or have ancestors, but particularly us in the melanated community have had ancestors um, pass over in traumatic ways, with a great deal of trauma and suffering, and it is to heal the ancestral line. And so we do this in honor and remembrance of all who have passed. So that's what I'm doing. I'm actually burning. There's some candles. I don't know if you can see the candles behind me.
Yes. Yeah. When you
And
move, yeah.
and we wear white for 9 days. As you know, my cousin Ronnie was murdered. He was poisoned. I've had my family, 2 family members die in Grenfell Tower. I've had. I believe my parents died under suspicious circumstances. I think other family members would agree with that. Um, yeah, there's been a lot of passings, and I think particularly in this time of COVID, there's a lot of people who have died and they haven't had a proper rites of passage. A lot of people have not been able to bury their loved ones. people are coming forward and saying that people have been murdered inside hospitals. That's what's going on right now. So we're in particularly dark, demonic times. I don't know, you shouldn't use the word dark really, but certainly demonic times. And so we have to also address things spiritually, as much as we address things on the physical, we also have to pay attention to the spiritual journey as well. And so that's very much part of who I am. But anyway,
That's really
yeah,
beautiful. I'm so sorry for your
thank you.
losses, Seven, but that's a beautiful
Thank you.
way to remember them and to sort of
Yeah,
do it
I
in a
think,
group way with others as well.
yeah, it's like kind of a mourning over for 9 days,
Yeah.
and you give remembrance to your ancestors because we are all of our ancestors, the
Mm-hmm.
upgrade of our ancestors, and so we
Yeah.
should always walk in honor of them. And obviously, well, not obvious to some people. I don't think it's obvious to everybody, but I very much am in connection with the spiritual realm, and their presence is with us. Our ancestors are with us. They communicate with us. If you listen, if you know how to tune in. So it's not like they died and they're finished. No, they continue the journey from the other side. And so sometimes they can alert you to things. If you tune in, if you tune in spiritually, you will connect with your ancestors. And there are ways to connect with your ancestors. I don't mean spooky ways that European
Yeah.
spooky kind of, nothing like that.
Seances and,
No,
lighting candles and
no,
holding
no,
hands
I
around
don't
the
get
weird
involved in
table and all
stuff
that.
like that. No, don't get involved in that. I just think it's a natural part of the journey being here is that obviously people that have come and gone, their presence is still there. Sometimes people dream, they come into dreams. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you can even smell somebody's perfume that you'll remember an ancestor used to use a particular perfume and you'll actually smell it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there are ways, there are things that remind us and we're sort of guided, and I believe if you tune in, you'll feel it, you'll hear it, and yeah, I think it's also really important, particularly for those who have died under traumatic circumstances, that we we how can I say, we just give honor to them and we send healing,
Mm-hmm.
for to clean the path. We're living in some incredible times,
We
in some
are.
ways good and in some ways really bad. And that's why we're doing this news break today. So we're going to give you 40 minutes, hopefully, of um, people power. Um, Ramola and I are going to share our tweets and our Facebook, and we're going to comment on what the new posts are and opening up to anybody who wants to share your opinions in the comment section, and I give a shout out to everybody who's watching. So do you want to kick it off, Ramola? Do you have
Sure, I
anything that
could.
you want to share?
Well, I thought you had lined up that one video you wanted to go straight to, no?
I wanted to show you, well, I've got a few things lined up,
Okay.
so we can share the screen, right? Let me just make sure
Yes.
that we're going to come on to the pages that I want to show.
Okay.
Okay, because this one is huge. This one is huge. Okay. So let me see
This
if
is one I haven't seen yet, right?
I think you probably have seen it. It's
Oh,
actually
okay.
a little bit old now. It's not a new one, but it's one that I don't think has got flagged up very much because when I made a video about it, they removed the video on YouTube. So
Oh,
anyway, let's
wow.
let's see if we can get it. Uh, Hopefully I can access it straight away. All right, so can you see what I'm looking at?
Yes. Just
Okay,
started.
so we got
Yes.
so basically, This, I made a video about this because this, and there was a couple of other things as well. Now, this is from Brazil, and as everybody knows, the COVID situation in Brazil is off the charts. Now, the couple of two videos that I showed before this one um, were removed from YouTube. And I'll see if I can find the other two, but before I show you this, the first video was of members of parliament from Brazil storming into one of their hospitals. And this hospital had reported that 500 people were sick and 200 people had died. So these members of parliament, big guys, Brazilian guys, decided to go to the hospital. And they went there obviously unannounced. I don't know if you saw that video, but basically when they got in there was nobody sick, and they kicked off, and it was all being filmed. Now, the second video was...
I think I saw one of those, yes, yeah, but not
Yeah, the
all of
second
them.
video was, because they were all from Brazil. I know that there was a video in Brazil where they had like miles and miles of coffins, and they turned these coffins over and there was nobody in them. You know, this is, people have been participating in a mass TV Truman Show production. If you're putting a mask on, you have participating and are participating in a massive TV reality show production. We had Piers Corbyn, who is Jeremy Corbyn's brother, who's very vocal. He's in his 70s. He speaks out in London. And he was on a show being interviewed with Miles Johnson. And he said there are ambulances going around in the UK with the sirens kicking off, and there's nobody in them, just to keep this theatre production going.
It's theatre, that's what it is. It's absolute
So
street
in this
theatre.
particular one, which is quite interesting, this is a member of parliament in Brazil, house being raided. And in relation to the COVID, the money had been stolen. And basically what you're seeing is that they're going into his ceiling and they're pulling out wads of money, which has been stolen. So basically the public's money has been stolen, and it's being used to bribe hospitals and bribe people. So the police, Brazilian police, have stormed in there. And this is what we're looking at. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Yeah.
This is really interesting, Seven. So it suggests that the police are actually doing the people a favor by exposing this.
Yeah, so somebody's exposing it.
Yeah.
So,
somebody is. That's right.
So basically, this shows you clearly that this is a pandemic. It's an absolute scam. This whole COVID situation has been an absolute scam. Now, I don't say that people haven't died. Absolutely, people have died, but people are being murdered. There's no question about that.
Mm-hmm. People
And
have
how
died for
people are
very
dying.
many different reasons, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. But this is money stashed away by a governor, I believe, in Brazil, and then busting him and going into his house and finding the money. So that's my little share for right now. So
that is major. I think that's a great way to kick off the show over here.
Yes.
Because it opens up so much, because, you know, it really suggests that people are being bribed. Money is being handed over to people in order to play out this farce that, you know, the hospitals are busy and filled. And, you know, that thing about the hospitals all around the world, it seems, they've actually shut down the hospitals for everything but COVID. Which means they are literally turning people loose on their own resources, their own on the street, on their own homes, families, whatever, for any kind of healthcare, anything, you know, whether they have an emergency or whatever.
So people are being neglected in hospitals right now. I mean, there is a recording that has been going around on WhatsApp, and they're saying if you're sick and at this point, do not go to a hospital, because apparently hospital staff are being asked to murder people and give people, if you go in there for pain, for instance, it was said that they're giving people high doses of morphine, ridiculous doses of morphine to kill people off. So we have a really terrible situation that's kicking off. I don't know how much of the criminal side of it is actually being flagged up. I did see there is something called Voice TV Nigeria. It's a channel where they actually are paying very close attention to particularly the whole situation of forced vaccinations, which they're trying to say that people don't have a right. They're going to force vaccinate people in Africa in particular. And it's a channel called Voice TV Nigeria, and
Okay.
it's one to watch because they get up to date. I think they make videos, very short videos, regularly every day. And there was a video that I saw yesterday, which was talking about the vaccine, forced vaccination mob being busted, and they basically showed Fauci, Dr. Fauci in America, being grilled is it in the Senate or in the judiciary? He was being grilled in regards to,
The Senate, probably, in
yeah.
Congress.
Did,
Yeah.
did, did you see that? Have you seen that?
No, I saw little excerpts. I didn't have time to watch it live. But
Okay,
yeah, I saw little bits.
did you see where Fauci was being grilled about protests?
Yes,
Because
that
obviously
was a
you've got,
very, very, significant clip, I think, that was passed around when I think it was Matt Gates who kind of questioned him. Oh,
yeah.
wait, was it Jim Jordan? I forget. Maybe
No, it
Jim
was, I
Jordan.
think it's Jim. I don't
Jim
know their names,
Jordan.
but I
Yeah.
believe it was Jim Jordan.
Jim
And he
Jordan
was
asked him.
basically saying, you've closed churches to stop people congregating. You've
Mhm.
shut down people's businesses. Someone was arrested for wanting to open their gym, and yet people are protesting in America, and basically he was saying, should we be banning protests? Because obviously a lot of these protests are being staged. We know
Completely,
that the
totally
Black
contrived
Lives Matter
chaos. Yeah.
situation, a lot of it is not
Antifa.
necessarily by, even though I think it has opened the door for many melanated Black people to voice stuff that has been long overdue to be said. So it has opened, but we as the melanated Black community, we don't claim the Black Lives Matter situation. We know that that's a
No.
whole set up situation whereby they can use it to Black people's disadvantage. I think that's the plan.
Absolutely. And there have been clips actually of this one guy admitting that he was paid by George Soros and
That's right.
received a paycheck, etc. So this is completely contrived and Soros set it up. And there are very dark globalist aims behind all of this, one world government, new world order aims behind creating chaos.
Exactly. So let us share some more tweets, because yesterday um, we had Berlin.
Oh,
It was
yes.
1.3 million people in Berlin
That's worth looking
protested
at. Yes. Yeah.
against the whole COVID situation. And I think it's probably the biggest I've seen. I don't know if you've seen any bigger, Ramola, but
No, I don't recall seeing anything bigger than that either.
so let me see if I can line it up first. Wait a minute, let me come out of it and I will just make sure that I have it lined up.
But
If
even
you want to
those
share
Berlin
something,
protests.
sorry?
No, go ahead. Let's do the Berlin one right now. I was just saying that, even this Berlin protest, mainstream media in Germany and in the US is reporting the numbers as just in the thousands, 18,000, 17,000, 20,000. When in actuality, somebody sent me a comparison between the Love Parade of 2001 in Berlin, which was, absolutely streets overflowing, and that was admitted by mainstream media to be over a million. And this, which looks exactly the same, is being written down and downplayed as in the
Let's see
thousands.
if there's any other pictures. that you can have a look at. Yeah, so basically we have, it's this, I think it's 1 out of 10 photographs. Let me see if I can get hold of, if it can change. Maybe not. Let me go back to the previous picture. So what say you about this, Ramola? I mean, it
Oh,
seems
wow.
like the world is waking up. Well, Germany, I mean, they've had Nazi Germany to contend with.
That's right.
Um,
They've lived through the Stasi era. And see, this is, I think, possibly the difference between Germany and the UK or the US. They're used to the Gestapo. They know about the Secret Service banging down doors and taking people out and demanding that the neighbors snitch on one another and so forth. And of course, Germany is the site of, Hitler and the Nazis during the Second World War, I guess. And those tags, right? The Juden tags, they used to wear the yellow star on their sleeves. So now we've got the mask.
yes, yes. And I would like to show you some things with that, but I'll let you share some things first. I want to say about this is that this is long overdue. This hocus pocus has been going on for too long. The first thing that we have to remember is that number one, we have to ask yourself, would people who have never had any concern about the public's health suddenly be concerned for the public's health? We have people who cover up investigations into the most vulnerable children in the world. In the UK, people have been asking for investigations into what's happening as far as trafficking, pedophilia. All of these things have been squashed. Now, my work that was stolen was all about health and fitness. And yet, they basically, for the last 17 years, they've terrorized me and my family, and family members have died under suspicious circumstances for my work to be stolen. What are the odds that people who have literally terrorized me for work that I produced, which is famous now, about health and fitness, would actually be interested in health and fitness? There's none whatsoever. There is no way on earth that people who do not care a damn about the people living in the country, there's been no arrests with Grenfell Tower, people
That's just
not even
absolutely
for
awful.
negligence,
Mhm.
not even for negligence. And how long has it been? So you're trying to tell me that these people who cover everything up, who do not have even the most vulnerable people's interests at heart, people who have got a badge, the highest badge of honor in the UK, is a white angel treading on the head of a black man. You're trying to tell me that these people who are institutionally racist, hateful people, would actually be concerned about the public's health and well-being? It's just not even true.
No,
It's not
absolutely.
even
And I
true.
think you
It's
underline it
absurd.
perfectly. This notion of public health, I mean, clearly it's being used as sort of just a channel toward further monitoring, surveillance, and control. And you're right. I think you underline exactly the problem. These are people who don't even respond when you write to them, Seven, about anything.
Absolutely.
They don't respond. They don't respond to your emails. They don't respond to your letters or your phone calls. They've got staff, to sort of fob you off with a few platitudes and then no follow up. So, what's been established in our cities, our towns, our counties, both in the UK and the US, and literally all parts of Europe, I'm sure the Germans know about it as well, with all of these fusion center crimes, all of the incredible over and overt surveillance that people are being subjected to, and where a lot of public private partnerships have ensured that a lot of companies are making a lot of money on terrorizing people, on surveilling and
Absolutely.
monitoring people completely out of hand. They're not surveilling and monitoring criminals, they're surveilling and monitoring the regular person.
The
So,
victims. I mean, my cousin was poisoned. He died in front of me. this happened on the 14th of March. Bear in mind, we asked for protection because we were being followed, stalked, abused. We won a massive court case 17 years ago. It was 16 years at the time, whilst my cousin was still alive. And to this very day, they know who killed my cousin. Not one police officer has come to me to say anything about the matter. Okay, what was happening is cover up cremation, mock funerals. God knows what is going on behind the scenes. Nobody's consulting me. I have a power of attorney over my cousin's estate, so they're supposed to consult me to do anything and everything. But basically, there is no rules when it comes to people that look like us because of institutionally racist people that are in the police forces. They don't basically care about us at all. So how can it be that all of a sudden they care about people's health? It just doesn't even make sense.
They
It
care
doesn't
so
make sense.
much that they are going to impose mandates and strictures on everyone to protect the vulnerable because they care about the old people so much and they care about the children so much. This is actually really sad and something else to speak about because the children, I don't know if you've seen children with masks on, it looks so tremendously horrific. I've seen kids at playgrounds with masks on and trying to play. I mean, what the heck? How can they play with a mask on? And why are their minders making them wear a mask? We're talking about kids 5 to 10 to 15.
The thing is, this has got nothing about to do with health, because if it had to do with health, the first thing they would say is do not wear a mask,
Correct.
particularly in hot weather, which we're having in most parts of the world right now. This is about control, because we know that the masks, they wouldn't be protecting you. I mean, I've seen people with plastic that come up to here, as
Hmm.
if a virus couldn't go underneath there and underneath there. I mean, the whole thing is
Yeah.
a theatre production that people are participating in. And it's wonderful to see what's happening in Germany, because basically that sounds, that sends a really strong message that people are not drinking the Kool-Aid and they're not taking the bullshit anymore. That's
It's
the
absolutely
reality.
fabulous, that the people in Germany have decided they've had enough. They're taking to the streets. They're not wearing the mask. They're not putting up with these protocols and these shutdowns and lockdowns. It'd be very interesting to see what occurs over the next few days in Berlin, in Germany, to see if the government of Germany actually responds to this mass protest and begins to roll back these lockdown restrictions and so forth. Because over here in the US, it seems like they're getting ready for the quote unquote second wave. They're, ro-
Absolutely.
they're doing it
And
again. They're rolling out the shutdowns again.
yeah, and this is how absurd this is, Ramola, because I've seen reports that they're telling people to wear masks inside their houses
Yeah,
and also when they go to bed. Basically, they're mocking people. They're saying, if you're stupid enough to put somebody who doesn't know you, doesn't care about you, has never met you before, if you're just going to take what that person says above your right to be able to breathe, your right to be able to breathe, that's a fundamental right that every human being has. So if you have people dictating to you, telling you that you need to wear a mask, and you're actually listening to that, they're taking it a step further and saying, these people are absolute idiots. Let's tell them to wear a mask at home and put it on when you go to bed. They're laughing at people.
they
And
are.
I'm not insulting people by saying that, because what I'm trying to show people is they do not have any respect for any of us. They really don't. For me, the last 17 years have shown that in the UK, they protect people that are criminals more than they protect
Oh,
victims.
it's a complete racket. This is criminals protecting criminals. And they've done this, and this is something I'm exploring through documents as well, as you know, Seven. They've done this over a period of about 50 to 60 years. They have planned a takeover. They have planned these shutdowns. They have planned pandemics. Over the last 20 years, they've been rolling out some of these pandemics. This is the only time that they've really pushed it, really. But it seems like, as you say, people are actually listening and
People are
permitting
starting
themselves.
to
People are
say no.
submitting, but people are also saying no. I mean, you're right, and I'm hoping that this group over here that says no becomes larger and larger, because it's obviously it's getting insane at this point. Asking people to wear masks indoors, asking people to wear masks in playgrounds, put masks on very small children. And if you like, this is what happened yesterday. I went to the grocery store and I was amazed to find I was the only person not wearing a mask. Now, I did come prepared and I had a mask exemption card, which I had pinned to my shirt, because I have seen some of the idiotic videos online where people literally start yelling and screaming at people without masks. And I kind of wanted to see, I did want to test the waters and see what would happen. And I did expect some kind of pushback. So I came, I went with some trepidation and some apprehension to see what might happen. At the CVS, there was one woman at the counter who started to yell at a woman standing next to the counter, right next to her, who started to speak to her and said, "Before you speak, ma'am, put your mask on." So this woman said to the first one, "Well, who are you? I mean, are you the health department or something?" And this woman said, "No, I'm just, I protect humans." She said, "I'm here to protect humans. I'm protecting this man here, the cashier, who, by the way, is behind plexiglass. He's well protected and he's wearing a mask. So he looks like a complete slave and he's got plexiglass." So this woman, this busybody, says, "I'm protecting this guy over here." And she makes this woman put on the mask. Now, I was just sort of standing back and watching this. And when both the women walked by me, because they had to past me to get out of the store, they looked at me, and by the way, they didn't say anything. It really looked like street theater to me. It looked like they were kind of playing this out. So I feel there's this going on, with all these false flags, these mass shootings, when people like Ole Damagod go in and say, well, they start analyzing look, all of the little clues, and they figure out very quickly this is a false flag. I feel
Mm,
this is what's going on in our midst. There's a false flag going on, and there's lots of players. There's lots of farcical street acting players, kind
absolutely.
of set up around us to role model to us. You've got to wear a mask. You've got to care about your fellow human who's behind plexiglass in this way, and all this other rubbish. It's not even worth talking about how useless a mask is at this point. But we should remind people, perhaps I should share a screen and just show people the number of tweets I made recently about masks. I just, here we've got, do you see that, Seven? Do you?
Uh, Let me see. Sorry, I'm just lining up something to show.
No
Okay.
worries. So
So
this
what?
is
So what's this?
This is Charlie Baker, who is the governor of Massachusetts, and he's doing a little spot over here.
Can we hear him? Does it pick up the audio? This program, Ramola.
Oh, you can't hear the audio when I play it?
Wait, play it. Let's hear. I think it's
Okay.
very quiet. I couldn't hear
Oh,
anything.
really?
So
Okay.
what's he saying? Who's this dude?
So basically, what he's saying is masks. We know that masks are the best way to protect. And that's really what I wanted to.
We can't hear him, Ramola. He's just talking, and we can't hear anything.
Oh, you can't hear it. Okay. Yeah, that.
No.
Okay.
So
All
what's
right.
the name of this video so that people?
Yeah, so let me just, I'll show you the tweet. You can just go to my tweet. It's over here. So, it's a video that's on the Mass government website. It's the governor saying, masks are the best way to protect, because we know that the spread occurs from person to person, from the nose and the mouth, etc. But what he's saying is not what doctors are saying. So this is why I pulled up this video and I posted it, and I sent Mr. Governor Charlie Baker a bunch of these tweets, with his email, not email ID, sorry, Twitter ID handle over there. And they're just links to various doctors speaking out. For instance, we have Dr. Eli Perenchevich from the University of Iowa's College of Medicine, who says the average healthy person does not need to have a mask. They
Do
shouldn't
you
be
have a
wearing
video of
masks.
him? Do
It's
you have?
that is an article, and the link is, right somewhere. Here we go. This is it. This is the article. Face masks aren't just ineffective; they might actually increase. Let me open that, and people can see that.
Yeah, you can get respiratory trouble. I mean, obviously, if you can't breathe, that's
Mm-hmm.
the number one thing every human being has to do. So if you're telling people to literally muzzle themselves, but also we have to recognize that these are rituals, Ramola,
That's right, and that's the
beyond,
other aspect of it, right?
yeah, absolutely. Beyond that, these are actually rituals. Stop wearing face masks. They increase your risk of, it doesn't say the end of it, Ramola. I can't see the end because, all right, of infection. That's right, because you're
Mm-hmm.
just circulating your own oxygen is going round and round,
That's
and you're
right,
not getting any clean oxygen into your lungs. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Not only that, Ramola, let us not forget that
mm-hmm.
on the British government's website, it clearly showed on the, I think it was on the 19th or the 21st of March, that
Mm-hmm.
the virus cannot be passed from person to person. So you've got
Oh,
6 feet apart. Was it six feet apart? Okay.
two
On top of
meters,
6 feet apart,
six
they
feet.
want
Yeah.
you. So I mean, a virus that can't be passed from person to person. If you were 6 feet apart, which people are doing, most people have been doing, there's no danger for anybody to catch anything. However, they still, on top of this 6 feet apart, they want you to wear a mask. And you got to remember, these are the same people who refusing to have any investigations for trafficking, for the targeting, for
Mm-hmm.
slave trading. There's a slave trade in the UK, in Leicester, that is
Mm-hmm.
there's a MP called, I think his name is Andrew Bridgman of Leicester. He even exposed that there's a slave, every eight, one in every eight people in Leicester is a slave. This is what they
Oh
flagged
my
up.
God.
Yet there's nothing being done about that. There's nothing being done about the children being targeted and trafficked, let alone the adults who are being targeted and trafficked.
Yeah,
Nothing being done about the crimes against humanity. Yet we are supposed to be taking instructions from the very same people who couldn't give a damn about the crimes, the murders, the genocide that's taking place. They don't give a damn about that.
that's
Instead,
very correct,
they
and that's a
all of a
very good
sudden,
point.
these same people are telling people that in our best interests, they have to lock people down, make businesses lose their money. They have to remove cash from the shops.
Mm-hmm.
They've bankrupted people all over the world. These are the very same people who are preventing criminals from being investigated. You've got Seven Gate criminals. Seven Gate criminals are actually running EE, and they're running the 5G. We know that EE is installing 5G all over the world right now. They're involved in the rollout. We also know that the same criminals that are in my case are running Virgin, are running the NHS. You can type it in. So how is it that these same people who were involved in the horrific crimes against me and my family are the same people that are controlling the NHS, Virgin. And we are supposed to be taking instructions from people that we know have been involved in crimes against humanity anyway. This is just, it's ludicrous. If
Mm-hmm.
people were to even start flagging up some of the crimes that have been perpetrated, that are being covered up, that alone would shut this down. That alone will shut this down, because that proves without a shadow of a doubt that they're not interested in anything. So here we have it. Even doctors are coming forward and saying that the
Mm-hmm.
doctor shares potential dangers of wearing a face mask.
Yes, and they're talking about hypoxia, where that there is a lack of oxygen, and your blood kind of reflects that because your blood needs oxygen, right?
Absolutely.
So
But not only that, have you seen that people have been flagging up this wire inside? They're calling it a 5G antenna that is inside the face mask. Have you actually seen that?
no, I haven't seen that. I haven't heard mention of that. That's really
Okay,
interesting. A wire
someone,
in the face mask? Oh my gosh.
yes, they're saying
Because
that it's
wires can
about,
act as antennas.
yes,
Anything
that,
metallic can, right?
yes,
Wow.
absolutely. I mean, I have it on my Facebook page, which I'll show you the Facebook page in a minute. But I wanted to show people because basically they are trying to force vaccinate people in the UK. They're saying that by Christmas time, everybody will be vaccinated. You can see clearly here, people, you can see clearly you are getting instructions from people who are covering up heinous crimes against humanity. These same people are asking the world to trust them, people who have protected criminals, people who are monsters, who have perpetrated crimes against the innocent, vulnerable, the most vulnerable and the most innocent. These people have been protected, yet they expect the world to trust what they say. We know that the mainstream media are complicit. Look how many deaths in the BBC. Just go into the BBC and check how many deaths, even around my stolen show, Strictly Come Dancing. That show, one show alone. Type in how many deaths have been in the BBC, suspicious deaths. And you're telling me that these same news outlets are telling you, giving you the information that they care about you. People are dying, so therefore you have to wear a mask. Here we find Ramola is pulling up article after article to show that these face masks are actually much more deadly than the COVID situation. Pull it down a little bit more, Ramola, so that it's underneath.
I'm wondering what's going on with my screen. It seems to be kind of freezing.
Yeah, there's a
But
couple of boxes where we can't see, but it says expert explains face masks are serious health
here we go.
risk,
So,
worse than COVID. So
yes.
it says new information about, pull it down a bit more,
So this is
Ramola.
about So this is about Dr. Russell Blaylock, a neurosurgeon. He wrote one of the early articles saying that masks pose serious risks to the healthy. He said there's no scientific evidence masks are effective against COVID-19 transmission, and there's been a lot more studies since then. He said, I think none of the studies established a conclusive relationship between mask respirator use and protection against influenza infection.
Mm. But pull it down a little bit, Ramola. I just wanted to see the main headline, if you don't mind.
Oh,
If you
sure.
just,
Let me try to go back up to the top.
yeah, just to go maybe a little bit further down, just a bit down, go a bit more, bit more, just so that we come to the face. Yeah, new information about face masks has emerged, warning healthy people of dangers of wearing them. In fact, according to a neurosurgeon, they can make contracting COVID-19 much more deadly. So maybe that's why they want people to wear the face mask
That's right. And
to
I think
weaken
I
your
heard
immune system.
to weaken your immune system. And also, I think there's the implication that if you have, some kind of virus or bacterial action in your system, by wearing a mask, you're actually creating the conditions, the moist, closed in conditions for that stuff to multiply and escalate and increase your chances of actually testing COVID-19 positive eventually.
Wow. So I'd like to share an article,
Go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing.
if you don't mind. I don't know how much time do we have left, Ramola?
I'm not entirely certain, but maybe another 25 minutes. And I'm having a freezing problem over here, Seven. I'm not sure if it's going to
Oh,
stop sharing. If you can try sharing from your end, if you want to
okay,
give it a shot, that might work.
okay. Um, Let me see. You cannot share screen while other participants. So you have to come out of share screen
I
before I can
do.
share.
Okay, so let me see if I can stop. Okay,
Okay.
it's worked now. All right.
Okay.
Boy,
So I
somebody
want to.
is indeed hacking into my computer. They do not like the sharing of all those articles.
So this was posted Quantum Politics 15 hours ago. And it says US national security alert. Military investigations reveal history of vaccine science fraud by leaders of White House COVID task force. So that's the latest bombshell that has
That is a
been,
bombshell. That's kind of huge. Wow.
yeah, so that's been 15 hours ago. US military investigators have proved that the current CDC director, Robert Redfield, who is in charge of COVID vaccine development and leads the White House COVID task force, has documented history of falsifying scientific data, has perjured himself and has repeatedly lied to Congress and the international scientific community. US military documents, Doc 123, show that Redfield and his former assistant, Deborah Birx,
Burks.
who is also leading the COVID task force, knowingly falsified scientific data published in the New England Journal of Medical, fraudulently claiming that an HIV vaccine they helped develop was effective. Two military investigators charged Redfield and Birx with engaging in a systematic pattern of data manipulation, inappropriate statistical analysis, misleading data presentation in an apparent attempt to promote the usefulness of the GP16 AIDS vaccine. A subsequent Air Force tribunal on scientific fraud and misconduct, Doc 123, agreed that Redfield's misleading and deceptive information seriously threatens his credibility as a researcher and has the potential to negatively impact AIDS research, funding for military institutions as a whole. They then continued, stating that his unethical behavior creates false hope and could result in premature deployment of the vaccine.
This
So
is huge.
here we have a huge story which has come out just 15 hours ago now, and they're demanding that President Trump take immediate action on this, because I mean the whole
Indeed.
situation is flawed from start to finish.
Yes, absolutely. And this kind of underlines who's at the top, right? Who's at the top, who's in front of the podium, who's speaking to the press. It's these guys who've been running the CDC and engaging in serious crime. I mean, manipulating data and putting out falsified data and telling people that this is science. So here we go to the heart of the problem over here. This is how political science has become, and how junky science has become, really, when you have guys like this at the helm who are willing to falsify data. Possibly, if you dig deeper into this, you'd probably uncover a reason for it. Why did he falsify data? Who is he connected to? Who is he affiliated with? Which huge pharmaceutical company is he protecting? Or who is paying him off?
And this is the problem. The problem is that these are the very people who are now saying that people have to be forcefully vaccinated under the basis of, masses of corruption,
Yeah.
masses of corruption. And so I know that we're being massively, the video is being messed with here.
Oh,
I
it's
can
happening at
see.
your end as well. Yeah.
Oh, can you see it?
It's gone now. We're back, in the
You're back.
studio over here. Yeah. I think it got bumped
Someone's
off.
having a bit of a laugh. I'm glad they can have a laugh on such a serious situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have that. I wanted to show you some other things, but if you want to share screen, and then I'll pull up a few other
Okay, let me see
articles.
if I can just go back to my Twitter feed over there. Um, Oh, this is another one. This was actually going back to Berlin, and this shows the photograph that my friend from Germany sent me. This is the Love Parade 2001. You can see the huge numbers over there of people. And then here you've got the August 1 demonstration. Similar huge numbers, right? Aerial. And this is being written off as 20,000. So this is one of the anomalies that we are seeing here in reportage by mainstream media, very clear anomalies. So this is ZDF, is German media, and I've seen similar reports at yahoo.com and at abcnews.com that the numbers are 20,000. And they state in the articles that police figures estimate about 20,000. So obviously false. So here you've got police giving wrong figures. I mean, what a joke. These definitely look like millions of people, not thousands. So I just wanted to show that. And
Mm.
just to go back to my other Twitter that I was trying to share. I don't know where my tweets have gone at this point. So they're not here yet, so I'd have to look for them. Some of these.
Okay, so I'll show something
Yeah,
while
go ahead.
you're.
Why don't I stop sharing, and you
Okay,
can
let
share
me
for now.
just. Okay, so I'll share just some of the tweets that I've had. This is 22 hours ago. This is on Facebook. It says, this is in the Daily Mail, and it says Government inks coronavirus deal with GSK for 60 million vaccine doses. So obviously they are intended to roll this thing out, whether
Oh
people want
yes.
it or not. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you got to understand, people have to understand, why would they be so desperate to want to vaccinate people? You have to ask yourself the question.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's not for health. Obviously, considering what they're negligent, for want of a better term, they're
Mm-hmm.
negligent in dealing with issues such as the targeting, the trafficking. There's no investigation. They know
Mm-hmm.
who people are who are killing and murdering people, but they're not interested in those people. So clearly there is no concern for the people of the UK or anywhere. I mean, in this case, we're talking about the UK, but we know, as Miles Johnson was flagging up on in a recent interview with him and myself with Alfred, he was basically saying that all world governments have been taken over by the Illuminati.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yes,
world
absolutely.
governments. So that's basically what we know is happened. The deep state is in control of most governments all around the world. And this is what they want to see happen. Trump to mobilize military to deliver COVID vaccine to millions very, very quickly. That was, let's see, let me just show you when did 22 hours ago. And so this is basically in the UK,
Mm-hmm.
the mobilization of Black people, because obviously, you know, we are the number one on the list to be attacked, as always. We know that institutional racism is massive in the UK. It makes up the UK, and that's not the average person in the UK. The average person in the UK is totally cool, and you know, people get along very well. But when you talk about systemic racism, it's in policy, it's in governance, it's in institution, it's in the way that we're dealt with. If there is a crime perpetrated by us, nobody ever comes out to speak to us. You know, things are covered
Mm-hmm.
up. So this is Nigel Farage who says, terrifying scenes in Brixton today, a paramilitary style force marching the streets. And basically, so I wrote, look at what this racist commentary, calling Black people unifying, terrifying, murdering, terrorizing, torturing, exploiting, and enslaving Black people is not terrifying. But Black people unifying to stop mass murdering maniacs is, yeah, right. More power to the people. This is what I say. For the first time, we're starting to see our melanated people stand up,
Mm-hmm.
because we have been brutalized for centuries. And this, to me, is a very beautiful sight, because until every everyone in humanity starts to unify, particularly us who are melanated, because we're in the front line when it comes to abuse, we're never going to see any end to the brutality that we're all facing. So I wanted to want to see whatever, yeah, this is a very, uh, very brilliant speech from JFK. He was a very interesting man, really.
Mm-hmm.
He basically talks about everybody on earth having a right. You know, we all have a right to live in peace, uh, peacefully with our brothers and sisters from all nations, all religions. We all have a right to this. And we are seeing those rights eroded by what is being used as the guise in order to bring about these racist, fascist doctrines that we're seeing right now. So I want to come out of here right now, Ramola, and give you the opportunity to share something while I find some more tweets.
Oh, I just wanted to comment on, the JFK that you'd mentioned, and
All
also,
right. Shall I put
and
it back?
sure,
Let me
yeah.
put it back while you make a comment on it.
As you know, JFK was somebody who, from to all intents and purposes, was assassinated because he actually made public his understanding that he had uncovered this plot, this deep state plot, to totally take over the world. Right, deep state and elitist plot to take over every man, woman, and child and enslave them, and that's sort of what we are looking in the eye right now. But a lot
Right,
of people don't.
exactly.
Right. And, it seems like what he talked about is coming true right now, in our time period right now. But a lot of people don't seem to get it. They seem to think that if they wear the masks and if they stay at home, as they're asked to, and if they stand, 3 feet apart or 6 feet apart in a grocery line, in the grocery store, everything will work out fine. And tomorrow will be great, just great, because they are doing what the government is asking them to do. This virus is going to go away, and the new normal is going to be nice to them. I think a lot of people seem to imagine that, and that's why they're complying. Whereas in actuality, what JFK was talking about, absolute enslavement enslavement is pretty much what's here, what's headed down the pike toward us. If we don't all, snap out of it and start speaking out. You and I are speaking out, and a whole bunch of other people online, on YouTube, are speaking out. But in a sense, when you look at the larger numbers, there are numbers and numbers of people who are simply complying. So this is not the moment to be complying.
Well, absolutely. Anybody who is complying needs to first of all question whether or not the people who are making these orders have humanity's best interest at heart. That's the first question to ask yourself. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
before Boris Johnson went into government, there was a big case with him about Brexit, about him lying about it. And it was established that he lied, and that was before he was made prime minister. That was before he was made prime minister, and it's
Insane,
almost
isn't
like the
it?
goldfish bowl effect. They established that this man happily lies about
Yeah.
anything,
They chose
and
him
yet
because he's a
they
good liar.
and basically it was flagged up. Anybody can look at that. That was just before he went into become the leader of the corporation, the mafia corporation that is now controlling the UK, because there is no government that represents any of us people. If there was a government, my cousin wouldn't have been murdered so blatantly. The people who were involved in my cousin's murder would have been arrested a long time ago, because my cousin and I, we asked for police protection. And so all of this has been covered up in order to protect people who are absolutely criminal. They're monsters,
And what they do
and
is,
this is,
pile on the crimes in order to cover the previous crime. And the pile just
yeah,
keeps getting bigger and bigger. I mean, they don't seem
uh,
to learn. So, and
yeah.
the only way they have figured out to hide their crimes is to oppress the people and suppress any truth coming out. And that's what they've been practicing
And
for a
that's
long
what
time.
COVID is there to do. It's there to suppress, basically. What the reason why they want to go after Africa, the reason why they want to ensure that everybody takes this vaccine as mandatory, is because they know they cannot contain the crimes any longer. The crimes are
Absolutely.
so horrific and they're massive. The magnitude and the horrors, it's all coming out bit by bit. It's all coming out what's been going on in the entertainment industry, that the media are involved.
The
We have
child trafficking, the sex
the child
trafficking, the
trafficking.
abuse of the
Recently, we've
babies.
seen stuff about Wayfair, that company
Oh,
Wayfair that
yeah.
was trafficking children inside the cabinets, the cupboards, and naming the children after cabinets. I mean,
Blatant.
the downside of this whole surveillance thing for them is that information comes out very, very quickly. People see what is happening, and they know that there's not much more longer that they can sustain any of this, because they've kept a lid on it for a very long time by murdering people, assassinating all the people who have spoken out. And I
Or
encourage everybody.
incarcerating whistleblowers, they just grab people, literally abduct and kidnap them,
Brutalizing,
extradite them.
abusing, paying off relatives and family members to sell out other, people who are speaking up in defense of humanity, encouraging the people that's supposed to be nearest and dearest to betray each other so that they can make money off of the suffering and misery that is being perpetrated against our fellow brothers and sisters, against the most innocent in the world, the children and the vulnerable people of this world. This is what is happening. And they've managed to control this for a very long time. But it's come to a point now, because what's happening, everything they're doing is backfiring. They want to depopulate, so they decided they'd do this lockdown. But what has happened with the lockdown? There'll be more babies born after this lockdown than
That's
any other
probably
time
true.
in history, even more than the baby boomer in the 60s. There'll be more because what were people doing while they were sitting at home locked down all day long? Do you know what I mean? There's going to be triple the amount of
Serves them
people
right,
in
right?
the world. So every single thing, the Most High is the greatest of planners, and those who plan negative, the Most High will always turn it for the good of humanity. Sorry about this horrible lighting I have,
Oh,
people.
it's
I'm trying
okay.
to.
And the other comment I wanted to make was about, people marching out in the streets and
Mm,
protesting the focus on African Americans or African British people of color anywhere around the world. As you
mm,
know, Melinda Gates made that famous remark that, the blacks would be the first to be vaccinated. And that is
sweet witch.
outrageous. Yeah, that is incredibly outrageous.
Yeah. Do you see what? I have my theory about this.
Hmm.
The reason why they want the melanated people to be vaccinated first, there's a few reasons why.
Hmm.
The first reason is because right now they have been trafficking and enslaving Black people more than ever before in history. They have open slavery going on all over the place, which is being perpetrated by the deep state right now.
Yeah.
Horrific crimes are being perpetrated against melanated people. That's coming to the surface. In the Senate, in the House of Judiciary in the Senate, on the 11th of March of 2020, there was 17.5 million cases that went to the Senate this year. Okay,
Oh, wow.
17.5 million cases of slave trading. You can type that in, people, on the 11th of March of 2020. If you type it in, you will see that there were massive case. So they quickly rushed this whole COVID situation to cover up the fact that this is going on. So the reason why they want to, this is my theory, the reason why they want to um, quickly vaccinate all the Black people, melanated people, Black people. Well, everybody's melanated, but we have the strongest amount of melanin. I want to say that. I say melanated, but Europeans have melanin. We've all got melanin, but
Hmm.
we have the strongest amount. This is why we have the darker skin. Anyway, I believe the reason why they want to vaccinate Black people first is because when Black people find out that they have been slave trading, because most people think slavery was going on like 400 years ago, they're not aware of the fact that they're slave
Oh,
trading
yeah.
and trafficking and torturing and murdering and brutalizing people right now. Now, once that comes to the spotlight, like held in the spotlight, not just a little snippet. Leicester in London is in the UK, sorry, in the UK, they have towns like Leicester where they have slave trading going on. I'm talking about once people, it hits the consciousness that they're slave trading now, these monsters who are involved in this will be ripped out of their places of work. They will be literally, there will be uproar like never been seen before by the melanated people all over the world. And there are more of us in the world than anybody else. Okay, they always call us the minority, but we as melanated people cover 3/3 of the whole earth. And so this is why they desperately want to vaccinate Black people, because they know
That's a very
the
good point.
evil that they've done and they are doing currently to us is coming to the surface. And so they're rushing quickly. We've got to find an excuse to vaccinate them, to disable them. This is what it is. Also,
Hmm.
there's another thing. There is a 2,000-year-old prophecy, 2,000-year-old prophecy about the rise of the Black Messiah.
Oh, interesting.
2,000-year-old prophecy. That,
Where is this prophecy from?
well, actually, I was I've been doing a lot of research into it, so I'm not going to go deeply into the prophecy, but there was a very, very good. I should put the video in the link where you can have a look at.
Yeah, please do.
But anyway, because of this prophecy, it's written in various scriptures and texts. This is why there is a hatred and the constant desire to kill the black man and the black woman because of this prophecy. This is why there is so much hatred, because it is foretold that in this time the melanated people would rise. Now, the
Interesting.
400 years old, the transatlantic slave trade
Mm-hmm.
that began about 1619, that particular prophecy ended in 2019. I believe it was the 21st of August, or it could have been the 21st of October. All right. Now, that particular prophecy foretold the end of the slave trade. Okay. Once, and the changing of the guard. So that means the people, the chosen people. When we say the chosen people, that means the Most High's people. Most High's people are the chosen people. Okay. And I'm not saying that all melanated people are good. Some are wicked and evil, just like some Caucasian people are beautiful people, you know. But what we're talking about is for generations, these people behind the scenes who are aware of these prophecies, most of us are not, who are aware of all of this, have had a secret policy to kill black men and black people. And even I think it was, is it the what's his name? Natural News. What's his
Mike
name?
Adams, the health ranger.
The Health Ranger.
Mm.
He even made
Mike
a
Adams, yeah.
he even made a very brilliant video about the extermination, the planned extermination of black people.
And Seven, what you're saying is completely in line with the entire eugenicist movement, which has really spanned the course of the last century and comes right up to, Henry Kissinger, the National Security Memorandum of 1974 or sometime in the 70s, where he actually spells out, his desires for depopulation. And he talks about, he literally makes remarks that the quote unquote third world, when you look at the third world, depopulation has got to be the foremost objective, etc.
Absolutely.
So that's been written into United Nations policy as well. The United Nations has had an official depopulation policy, and that's played out in very many deleterious ways of harm that have been aimed against everybody in the world, but particularly, countries in Africa, countries in Asia, etc. And of course, now at this point, also North America, South America, Europe as well. We're all being subjected to the fluoride in the water, the chemtrails, the aluminium, the nanometallic particulates being, sent into our food and water and into our biological systems, etc. So we're all under attack in that sense. But
Absolutely.
there's been
But
a
there is
distinct depopulation attack on, as you
everybody who,
say.
if you're not a eugenicist, if you're not a Satanist, I want to show actually Putin. There was a tweet
Hmm.
that I have, someone tweeted yesterday. I think it's probably an old tweet that was been recirculated. But
Hmm.
we know that at this point, unless you're a Satanist or a Luciferian or part of the deep state, you're targeted. That's the reality of it.
That's right.
Whoever you are, whatever you look like, you're targeted, and they want to ensure that every man, woman, and child is vaccinated and
Hmm.
basically potentially murdered. because that's what
Mm.
we're talking about. We're talking about genocide of everybody. However, what I'm saying is there is a fear of the melanated people, black people that look like you and I, Ramola. There is a fear of us, so much so because of this prophecy. This is why we are brutalized and we are attacked and we are treated less than a human being. And I think that's something that we need to really put out on the table. I want to
You're
show you
speaking
this video.
historically, right? I mean, colonially, certainly that's definitely been the case, right? You know, with the
I think
colonization
it
of
currently is. I
Africa
mean,
and
I'm really
Asia.
referring to things that I've been looking at in the last 2 days. Like I said, there is a video circulating with a doctor saying that the people in Africa will be vaccinated by force. Obviously, they intend to do this to everybody right now, but at this moment in time,
Yes,
they
it's
are
that
saying that
attitude. I had.
Africa
Mhm.
has no right as any human being to say anything about it. They will be vaccinated. This is what they're saying. Okay. So I'm saying, okay, why is it that that is the case? We know that there's trafficking, we know that there's slave trading. Us as melanated people, there is so much hatred for us, so much disrespect for us, you know, as a humanity, that you have to ask yourself, why is it that these people, they want to use melanated people for experiments? So obviously they want to test out all these vaccines. The first place, where do they go? They go to Africa, they go to India, they will go to parts of where the melanated people are. Why is that, Ramola? Why
But
is that?
remember, when you say they, it's this particular coterie of absolute lunatic freaks, you know, who are working inside the WHO, who are working inside the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who are working inside the World Economic Forum, all of the many global organizations that are connected, you know, to these, to the World Bank, etc. So there has most definitely been racist policies that have been used, and most certainly this notion of clinical trials and vaccines being tested out on people in Africa, it is deplorable and it is absolutely true. Whether it's people in Africa or people in Asia, you know, people also in many of the countries of Asia, Southeast Asia, etc. These are the people who bear the brunt of, you know, Bill and Melinda Gates's mad experimentation. So that, I think, see, to me, that is very, very poignant, because that suggests there is an elitist faction that is seeking to kind of continue that attitude of colonization that the colonials started. You know, they are just sort of moving along the same lines of thinking, which is very archaic, very 18th century, very 19th century esque, where they have a real hatred for people who look differently from them. But
Why? Why, Ramola?
that is a good question, and I don't know the answer to that. But I wanted to just make a distinction that it's not everybody, you know, that it's not, you know, your neighbor necessarily. It's
No,
not.
absolutely not.
Mhm.
Absolutely not. The average person, we would get along just fine.
And we do.
Humanity will get along just fine. We have
Mhm.
the 1% of humanity who are right. I found it. I wanted to show you. It's a tweet that I saw yesterday,
Mhm.
which refers to something that Putin said. And it's well worth looking at, because that's basically what we're talking about. I mean, the average person, you know, we as a humanity, regardless of race, religion, we need to unite in order. And this is what we saw happen in Germany. Everybody came out clearly
That's
in,
right.
in Berlin. You know, the people came out because they can see what is coming. What is
Mhm.
coming is that these people are saying that they have the right to literally, basically maim, murder, terrorize.
Yeah,
As far as they're concerned, human beings are their property.
that's right. Yeah,
Human being, they, at this point, because of the birth certificate, they actually think that they
that
have
they own
a
us.
right over other
Yeah.
people's lives. But you got to remember, this is about survival for them, because the reality is that they know that humanity is not just waking up. Humanity is aware and becoming more and more aware of some of the evil that has been perpetrated against some of the most innocent,
Hmm.
defenseless. We're talking about, what is it called, endochrome, or what's that?
Adrenochrome. Adrenochrome.
Adrenochrome. I mean, that's all coming out. Every day we hear about more
Really
atrocities that are
shocking.
being perpetrated against children by the people in the entertainment industry. This is, I actually think these are the most evil people in the world, the people in the entertainment industry. I've been searching for this document. I found the tweet that I was looking for. It's basically, it says, this is an old one.
Oh,
It says,
yes, I
Putin
recall
said
this.
the West is controlled by satanic pedophiles. And
And I
when you
remember
look
there was a
at,
lot of talk about, whether this was real, did he really say it, etc.
all right, okay. Well, let's look at whether or not that's true. I want to show you a couple of statues. Wait a minute. I would have cut it off and spared you me scrolling, but look at this statue.
Oh my
These are
God. Yeah.
statues.
Yeah. Those are
Look at that.
actually really graphic depictions of what this is all
So
about.
basically, if this is not, that statement's not true, why are these statues in existence?
Right.
Should I make them bigger?
Sure.
Look at that.
Oh my God.
If what Putin was supposed to have said is not true, why is there statues looking like this?
And hidden in plain sight, right? I mean, look at the size of those statues. You can't quite miss them.
Look at
This isn't,
this.
this is hardly art. I mean, this is sort of dangerously insane. So it's,
This is the world that we're living in, people. This is the world that, these are the people that you're taking instructions from. This is what is going on. These are the same people who are creating this. The average person doesn't create these statues, doesn't commission them, doesn't erect them, doesn't have any control. The average person doesn't give a damn what people's color. Yeah, you get some people who are ignorant, who have been brainwashed to believe that based on what your color of your skin, it determines what your worth is. That is the ignorant. The average person is cool. People can get along just fine. But we're living in a world which is controlled by this type of thing,
mhm.
sadly.
Yeah. And that
Sadly.
very, of course, it's just horrifying that this is the case. But if this is the case, this is absolute criminality. And I think people, as you say, who are waking up can see this for what it is, can see this for the criminality that it is. And it's not going to be
Yeah.
long. It's not going to be long, as you say, that people are going to all rise up against this. And what they're trying to do, certainly right now, is trying to tamp us all down before we rise up. you know so this is why
Yeah,
people
well,
do.
basically take everybody out. Take everybody
Exactly.
out. Now,
Yeah.
for anybody who wants an exemption card, you can go on to. Do you have them on your Twitter page, Corona?
What are
I
you
thought
talking about?
Ramola.
Did you
I
just
was
call me
reading.
Corona?
I was. Yeah,
That's too funny.
I was
Maybe
reading
I should
something while
adopt
I'm
that
talking
as
to you.
my alter
Look
ego.
at this. Look,
Corona.
look at this. I got to show you this. This is what made me say, look at this, read this. I got to show you this. You're going to laugh at this. This is too funny. Look at this. I'm reading while I'm talking to you. Sorry. Look at this. Corona. It says coronavirus. Stay asleep.
Oh,
Save
that's
the
too funny.
hoax. Anyone anyone can see we're lying. The only reasons to believe us are 24/7 media programming,
That's correct.
massive cognitive dissonance. Don't let the facts distract you. Herd instinct. NW. So they've made the so
absolutely.
NHS NWO. I thought this was so funny.
Yes,
And I was
absolutely.
reading it while I was trying to find something. So I was reading.
Well, I'm
So
glad
it
you didn't
came
call
out.
me virus after that.
Sorry, I apologize. And so this is COVID-19
That's
is
quite
caused
okay.
by,
Corona has a nice ring to it.
yeah, absolutely.
Not so
This
much the
again,
virus part.
have you seen this stuff
The Wayfair
about,
stuff. Yes, I've seen all that. Initially when the Wayfair information passed my field of view on Twitter, I could barely believe it. I was like, what on earth is this? And then as I dug into it and people started to talk about it and I went further into it, and boy, apparently it's true. This is actually going on. This is so shocking.
yeah, and this has become, look at this, Germany,
Oh,
30,000
isn't.
potential suspects in pedophile ring. So this was tweeted like let me see. This was the I retweeted it I think yesterday, but it came out in on the 12th of July. And so it's no wonder that the people in Germany are actually out there in full force because
Correct. And it also suggests, Seven, that there are German officials who are actually investigating this crime.
yeah, so this is we don't know what's being seen, but I know
Mhm.
I've seen that in different countries like Turkey and I think Germany and various other places, they actually have been showing on mainstream news stuff about paedophiles and the crimes against children, adrenochrome. Okay, it says, what does it say? They are busted. Avoid the test at all costs. I don't know what the hell it is, but it is clearly not as advertised. The coronavirus test is not credible and likely to be for clandestine brain access. They are
Oh,
claiming the
yes.
virus wrecks the nervous systems of large percentage of people, leaving lasting neurological problems and brain damage. But I'd like to ask, is it really a virus doing that? Or is the test doing that? So
Yes, or
that's quite
something.
interesting. That's
Yeah.
quite interesting. There's been some very, very powerful, this is a very important one. Look, punishment masks.
Oh, yeah. And this comes back to the story of the mass, which maybe is the note on which we should close this conversation,
Yes,
Seven,
absolutely.
because, time is running by over
Yes,
here.
yes, it's
And I
time
know
to
we have
close.
plenty to talk about, but we can do that in the next show.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is a good one for people because you brilliantly showed a lot of the information about how masks are very unhealthy and they're dangerous, but there
Mhm.
is also a very perverse side to mask
Absolutely.
wearing historically. So when
Yes.
you actually participate by wearing a mask, you're actually participating some of these very, macabre rituals. So I will leave it on this page where it says we will not be censored, tested, or chipped or poisoned. Was it to support the
It's about
orchestration of the new normal? We do not consent. I think that's a powerful. Let me open it up, Ramola, just so that we can finish.
definitely, yes. Let's just look at that for a second because that has to be, the closing thought we all leave with tonight. That
Yes,
we all need to stand up and really say this and mean this and make this happen.
yes,
We've gone past the point of just speaking in a sense. We've come to the point of actually putting our words into actions to protect ourselves because we do not consent to these extreme surgical interventions, which is what a vaccine really is. It is an invasive invasion of your bodily sanctity and integrity. So the moment at which we begin to realize that, yes, we not merely have to say we do not consent, we have to stand up for ourselves. That's a huge point of power, really, to
Yeah,
come to that.
and also for the children.
For the children, because the children are being regimented into this quote unquote new normal, which no one wants. This is not a new normal we can consent to or should consent to, because our children will be enslaved. And that's the bottom
Absolutely.
line.
Not to mention the 5G, that's for
Oh,
another show.
yes.
But,
Yeah.
we have to be concerned for the children who are going to be going back to school, going back to potentially 5G. And so we need everybody to start standing up against this, to recognize, first and foremost, that the people who are making these demands, putting the world under house arrest. We have a situation where those of us who are victims are being ignored. If they cared about humanity, they would take care of the people who are victims in their own nations. They're not. Victims are ignored, victims are abused, victims are being terrorized. This is what's happening in the UK, and it's happening all around the world. It's happening in America, it's happening everywhere. And because we have a small 1% fraction of criminal minded people who are brutalizing the rest of humanity, and in order to ensure that they never have any accountability, never face any consequences, they want to bring about an excuse to vaccinate, which will paralyze everybody. If it doesn't kill you, it definitely will paralyze you. So basically, we need to stop playing the game. The vaccine, there isn't any virus, it's 5G. We need these 5G towers to be taken down. This is what people should be protesting. Take these 5G towers down, remove the criminals from public office, and so let's replace them with healthy people who care about humanity. And on that note, I say thank you, Ramola. I think this was much longer than 40 minutes, this show today, but there's always a lot to cover.
But very eloquently put and covered so well. And, thank you, Seven. You brought so much to the table tonight. So thanks so much for doing all of that. And literally, you have a certain inimitable voice. And, as a person
Thank you.
of color in the UK, you are somewhat unique in your stature, especially with your background and so forth. So your voice is, very much needed, I think, in the public space.
Everybody's voice, Ramola. I think everybody
Everybody's
do what
voice
you
is
can.
needed.
Share this video, like and subscribe on our channels. I will be, we there is another channel, isn't there, Ramola? We need to speak about that
Oh,
quickly.
yes. Yeah,
I
let me
would,
find out more about that, but people can go investigate it. This is a channel that somebody spoke to me about just yesterday and today, and it's called Web Talk. I don't know if it's webtalk.com. It's kind of an alternative to YouTube, just like many others, like Brighteon or Vimeo, etc. But it's going to be a platform where people like us who want freedom of speech, who honor and respect freedom of speech and want it, can safely post our videos and post our work there without fear of being yanked offline by YouTube or Google or whoever is doing it. So we'll talk about it a little bit more when I find out more about it. But it's Web Talk. Web Talk.
okay. And in the meantime, you can go to Brighteon. So that's the word bright, Bright, EON. So Brighteon.com. It's .com, isn't it, Ramola?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
Brighteon.
and I'm on there as Solutionaries. I haven't posted anything, but I'm going to start navigating away from YouTube because YouTube obviously are now supporting the deep state, because those of us who are trying to bring the truth to people are being removed. I've had over 20 videos removed from YouTube, and it shows you clearly they don't have any respect for victims. I'm a genuine survivor, and the people of YouTube are aware of that. I'm bringing the truth to help people to protect themselves, so that they know what's happening and be informed. And YouTube do not want us to help people to protect themselves. So You know, unfortunately for YouTube, they'll end up like what was it called? It used to be there used to be a website where everybody put their music many years ago. What was it called?
I'm not entirely certain. I don't have any music,
Oh,
but
there was a
I know
place
this.
that people used to put their music, and then eventually YouTube came along and it folded. And
Very interesting.
YouTube will just going to end up like that, you
On
know,
the dust
really.
heap of history. Yeah.
Yeah, it will do. If unfortunately, what was it called? Oh, people will know. People who know this will know what it is. But anyway, basically, we need to navigate towards new platforms whereby the truth should be mandatory. You shouldn't have to, because what they're saying is that they will only let you have your channel up if you lie.
That's
If we
correct.
sit
If you
there or we
lie and you
accept
keep to the
the
party
abuse,
line, you keep to the
yeah,
party line that mainstream media keeps to, because
yeah,
mainstream media is publishing rubbish and then pulling out people called fact checkers to supposedly, check facts, but they're not really checking facts. They're just sort of promulgating the fiction that they've put out in the first place. So,
absolutely.
very
I
sad
remember the name. It
situation.
was called what MySpace, by the way.
Ah, okay,
MySpace.
MySpace. Yes, of course.
MySpace used to be the old YouTube, you know, everybody was on MySpace, and you know, unfortunately it's no longer, you know, and that's what's going to happen to YouTube eventually. If they are stopping people from you speaking the truth, people will migrate somewhere else. And so I think Brighteon is by Mark Adams, is it, from
Mike
Natural
Adams. I think
Nat
it's his. Yeah.
yeah, from Natural News. So that's another platform. You know, if there are other platforms, please put it in the comments so people can see where
Oh,
we
good
can
idea.
post a video. But there's a new one called Web Talk, is there?
That's
And
right.
there's
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Mhm.
there's True Tube as well. So anyway, on that note, thank you, Ramona, for having me, and thank you to everybody who's been watching. Please support the video, get it out, help us that way, and stay safe. Make sure that you're spreading the truth. Be fearless and do not take the Kool-Aid. Okay. Take care,
Absolutely not.
everybody.
Signing off from Corona.
Okay.
So
Okay.
thank you so much, Seven. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a great night. We will see you again very soon. Bye for now.
Okay. Bye. Bye.